My passion has been for the last 20 years support of the LGBT community because of my own history, my involvement before I came here with AIDS Project New Haven and with the AIDS care program of Yale New Haven Hospital where I worked for 3 years. I think that most of us are aware how difficult it is to change a culture. We just think of today the culture of our nation, and there's not just one culture, there are several, and to change that culture, as we see in the present political arena, is extremely difficult. So that we could change the culture of this community from what 20 years ago was a rather closed, not terribly welcoming community to one that is a radically welcoming community which has grown so much and has opened its doors and welcomed so many people with so many different lifestyles and so many different ways of thinking and believing, I think is a truly amazing thing.
Father Lang's motivation comes from his real deep understanding as a student of history, church history.
What motivates me is the surprise, the amazement, the joy, the relief that I find in people who come through our doors and for the first time perhaps in many years and maybe for the first time in their lives find a community that is radically welcoming, that accepts them as the person God made them to be, and that supports and loves them.
In a diverse community such as St. Paul's, obviously people are coming from different starting points. So part of his leadership strength is that ability to engage with people no matter where they are on that particular journey of faith.
Those of us who are older, who have sort of made it, we're comfortable, we're living in an age, particularly in Fairfield County and in this part of the country, where the gay community is more accepted. We now have equality in marriage in the state of Connecticut. But my concern is that those of us who are no longer feeling the oppression as much forget that there is a young population that still feels that oppression very acutely. There's a lot of bullying in schools, there's a lot of heartache for younger kids. Teen suicide among LGBT kids is through the roof, and that we who are older will not pay attention and listen to their needs and get involved and help and support them in their journey. That's a concern of mine. A lesson I've learned in my service work is that laws don't change our hearts. And what changes our hearts is conversation, the root word of which is conversion. When people come together around the table, coffee table, communion table, dining room table, and are able to enter into conversation with one another, to get to know one another, they begin to respect differences, but actually to embrace one another and to form deep relationships. And I've seen so much of that within the St. Paul's community.
You can really be who you are without apology and without a feeling of judgment. And you can laugh together about who each of us is. So he's a remarkable, I think he's a remarkable man and a remarkable priest.
My service work makes me feel that at the end of the day I've done something, and hopefully that each day I've done something to make someone's life a little better.
I think what motivates me the most is knowing that I've created a character that is able to help people in the community, and I get to do something that's different. I get to help a variety of charitable causes, which is wonderful. I had a conversation with another drag queen and they were like, well, you're just another drag queen. And I spun on my heels and I looked at them and I said, absolutely not. I said, you tell me what you did last year. I said, in my downtime, I gave away $30,000. I said, I went to all the nightclubs and I did this. So those are things that I'm really proud of and that I like doing.
Dan's been very active in community activities before he came out. And I am very proud of all of the work that he's done through the years.
I've worked with TCC and MFAP in our own area, but I've also networked with a lot of people across the country and be able to help people that I may never meet, but I know that it was important to them. We had done an event for someone privately. They wanted to stay anonymous. And the gentleman came up to me afterwards and he said to me, he's like, I would have never survived. I didn't have money for drugs or medication when I needed it. So those are probably the biggest things that I'd say I've accomplished that I'm proud of.
I've seen so much of the work that he's done behind the scenes and the work that goes into becoming pure. It's a lot of work and it just doesn't happen overnight.
I think the best advice I could give somebody is don't be fearful. Be proud of who you are. And you're not alone. There are organizations that can help you. TCC is one of them. You're questioning your gender, you're questioning your being gay. Talk to somebody, get to know somebody, befriend somebody. It doesn't have to be your secret. It can be okay to be who you are and be proud of that. Some of the challenges we have are still fighting for equality. It's only one vote away and we can lose it all. And this year, people need to remember to vote. I mean, it's gonna be really important for the gay community in general to just remember that. Our forefathers in our gay community fought hard for us, you know, Stonewall and movements and riots, and don't let that go without being recognized.
I guess I'm really happy to be part of the gay community, that I find that they're so loving and so wonderful, and I feel privileged to be a part of this.
I think I want to get more involved with the youth. The last couple of years, the Imperial Court has been able to work with the gay proms. And I can remember growing up in high school where it just wasn't acceptable. You were scared to change in the men's locker room, you could never admit who you were. And it was amazing to me this last year when I was at Stanford, and so many of the youth were so proud of who they were, and the faculty were so encouraging. It was just overwhelming for me. So I think one of the things I want to start doing is probably working more with the youth in our community to let them know it's okay.
I couldn't be happier. I am so proud of him.
Probably the strongest lesson I think I've learned in doing what I do is just to remain humble and be who I am.
I just love him because he's Dan.
To be honored, I feel very humbled and happy about it. I'm glad that my work was able to help somebody.
I found out probably back in 1999 when I was almost injured and almost paralyzed from the neck down that I probably had another purpose on this, planet. And it goes back to my days of probably going to medical school and realizing that when I came out of the closet, I'm a gay man, that I survived the HIV and AIDS epidemic through the early 80s. And we're beginning to believe right now that there's actually people that can actually be exposed to HIV and never go HIV positive. It's about 1% of the population, and they are people of Northern European and or Ashkenazi Jewish descent. I happen to be of all three descents. And the reason I believe this is because the partner that I was with at that time has long since died of AIDS, and pretty much all the friends that I was with at that time, even sexually, have all died of AIDS. So I'm waiting to find out if I'm actually one of those few 1% of the population that actually has the genetic mutations that prevents a person from going HIV positive. So in a nutshell, that sort of means I survived the epidemic to be here for a bigger purpose. And I think my bigger purpose is to be able to use my doctorate degree and help people around the world. We founded a nonprofit called the World Health Clinicians, which oversees essentially two entities. So we have this entity called the Beat AIDS Project Zimbabwe, which was designed to set up an HIV clinic in Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe, with the main reason of trying to save the next generation of Zimbabwean children. We can actually treat HIV positive women now with HIV medications and prevent their babies from being born HIV positive. One of the HIV positive men who had contacted me from Zimbabwe told me at that time that he was positive, and his wife, who was 15 at that time and pregnant, was not yet tested. She tested positive, the baby died from AIDS at 2 months old. So our hearts went out to them. We started sending HIV medicines out there. And just to make a long story short, I have an HIV negative 10-year-old godson by the name of Tichona Gary Lusinga, who we celebrate every birthday with him and has been our motivation to be out in Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe. So not only did we save a husband and wife from dying from AIDS, they now are shortly to be a family of 5. So it's interesting that, this sort of white, Jewish, gay man can come out to a dictatorship like this with an entire African population and be welcomed with open arms to help people. So that in itself is a major motivation, because no matter what you do for people that are dying from AIDS, you can really make a big difference. We've opened up the Circle Care Center here in Norwalk with the same idea. We want to empower our GLBTQ community and open our arms to everybody, try to have a very warm, welcoming environment here in Norwalk, Connecticut. And at the same point, we're specializing in the treatment and care of people with HIV, AIDS, hepatitis C, and sexually transmitted diseases. One of the biggest problems we have right now is about 250,000 people in the United States who have HIV, AIDS, don't know it, and have not been tested. And of those people, about 78% of them are under the age of 30. And we hope to do a lot of community outreach and get a lot of our gay men into the outreach program out here and get them tested, get them aware, and hopefully do what we can to save as many lives, not only here, but abroad. The challenges are great. We still have so much stigma out there. We still have so much bias out there, and we still have so much, negative feelings out there. And one of the biggest lessons I learned is that it all comes from within inside you. You've got to have that spirituality. You've got to have that depth. You've got to have that feeling to be able to reach out to everybody else. One of the things that I'm really, really hoping for, and this is a big thing, is we have not had a gay pride parade in the state of Connecticut since 1984. During the days when everybody was dying from HIV and AIDS. So we have tentative plans now. We have a tentative okay from Harvey Fierstein and from Cyndi Lauper to head up our parade next May. And I hope to get everybody throughout the state of Connecticut, including Triangle Community Center, Midfield for the AIDS Project, as well as all the AIDS service organizations and gay bars and lesbian bars and everybody involved in a gay pride parade here in the state of Connecticut. It's going to be an incredible event. Of course, I want to say, no, I don't need to be honored for all the work I do. It's just what I do, but I accept it very graciously, and I thank everybody at Triangle Community Center for the honor and for everything they're doing for the 6th Visionary Black and White Party.